So let us use this time to also decree the Great Invocation, because I don't want this season to pass without us really holding this sacred intention and vibration for our world. It's part of our work, right? It's part of why we have come to speak the truth into being, to be a blessing, to offer the truth that sets everyone free. So as we affirm our Great Invocation together, from the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into human minds. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into human hearts. May love increase on earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide all human wills, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, which we call the human race, let the plan of love and light work out. Seal the door where error dwells. Let light and love restore the plan on earth. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. You know, that's such a powerful declaration, a powerful prayer, a powerful statement of truth. And it's called the Great Invocation because when we speak it, we are invoking an energy. When we speak it, we are unleashing the truth, the power, and the vibration of our consciousness and of our words. From the point of light within the mind of God, let this light now, from the point of light, stream forth into human minds. We are directing that light, and let light descend upon the earth. And from that point of love, I love it, within the heart of the divine, let this love stream forth into human hearts. And may love, what? Increase on earth. Because as I talked about last week, we talked about love, right? Love as an increasing force, an expanding energy, that when we unleash it, it begins to do its work, and it blesses, and it heals, and it renews, and it unifies and pulls things together, keeps it all together. And so we are celebrating this season of when hope and peace and love and joy entered into the consciousness of humanity. That's what this is about. The birth of that Christ ideal that contains all of these high vibrations, these thoughts that, whether it's praise, and we started this season off with talking about what Thanksgiving, that the holy season, the holiday season begins with praise and thanksgiving and gratitude. And so we can't deny that we're now fully into this season of Christmas, of holiday season, are we not? We can see it now. And I'm with Richard. The moment I see the church being decorated so beautifully, it's like, oh yes, Christmas is here. The holidays are here, right? And it's a beautiful thing for us to behold. But we started off working, as you remember, for the last few weeks, I've been talking about certain words and the power of these words that not only carry this high vibration or high vibration, but that these words actually help to produce increase. Whatever is praised, what? Increases, right? And they are words that stir up the gifts of God. That when we use praise and gratitude and thanksgiving and things like love, words of love, because it's an energy, it begins to stir up some. And the Bible says, stir up the good gifts of God. So these words stir up the gifts of the Spirit. They open us up. And they have an energy about them that causes some kind of shift. Because you can't offer words of gratitude and praise and thanksgiving and remain in the same vibration and consciousness that you were before you spoke them. The moment you speak them, there's transformation, there's a shift, there's an elevation of your spirit, right? And so these are some powerful words. And since it's Christmas time, I thought that we'd continue to look at some of these words that engender that very same quality of expansion, of growth, of transformation and change. We know that the themes of Advent usually it's hope, peace, love, and joy. And I thought, well, I'm not going to get hung up on the attitude, the order that I put them in, because we talked about love last week, and I want to talk about joy today. And it doesn't matter that usually if you look it up in your biblical text, I say, theme Advent should be hope and then peace and then love and then joy. No. We can mix it all up. It doesn't matter, because what we want to do is to get into the energy and the vibration behind the words and within those words. So I wanted to talk about joy this morning because that's what came to me. That's what has come into my spirit to speak about. Because this is the season that offers great joy. Somebody's going to wake up, some child's going to wake up on Christmas morning and have some great joy. They're going to have a bike or a toy or some clothes or something that they desire. This is the season of great joy. And if we remember from our story, the Christmas story, at the birth of Jesus as the Christ, the angels and heavenly hosts came and they said to the disciples and the shepherds, "Fear not. Fear not, for behold, I bring good tidings of great joy." So it's not just some good tidings. I'm bringing good tidings of what? Great joy. For behold, this shall be to all the people. For unto you this day in the city of David a Savior is born, who is Christ the Lord. Now, what we say in New Thought is that what is being born, what is being gifted, what was given and gifted to us is this Christ ideal that is to all people, open to everybody, everywhere. It's not just for Christians. That Christ ideal is this spiritual awakening of who we are as divine beings. It is the time of which the descent of a high consciousness of the Christ, of our divinity, is now available to everyone. And it resides within every heart, every soul, every mind, every person, because it's the light that lights up everyone. So that's some good news. That's the great joy, the tiding of great joy that we have with this wonderful experience of the awareness, the awakening of the Christ vibration into human consciousness. That's powerful. And it's cause for great joy. Now, this somehow joy is not only something that was gifted through this divine expression of the Christ, and we know that it all lies within us, but it is also something that Jesus, in his earthly walk and having become and embodied and taken on this full nature of the Christ, he said he was leaving us certain things. He was going to leave us some peace. We'll talk about that later. But he also said that he was going to leave us some joy. He was going to leave us the Holy Spirit. But he was going to leave us some peace. But he said, I'm going to leave you some joy. This is what he says as he's preparing his disciples for his departure. So the heavenly host announced great joy at his birth. And he says, these things I have spoken unto you, that my joy might remain in you, and that your joy might be full. Wow. So there, again, is something about the fullness of joy that comes with this Christ awareness and consciousness. There's something about joy that it too has an expansive quality, because he said, I'm going to leave you some joy, but that your joy might be what? It might be full. Not just a little bit of joy so that but joy that is the fullness of God. There's an expanding consciousness and quality to joy. The psalmist said it this way. Psalm 16 says, Thou wilt show me the path of life, for in thy presence is the fullness of joy, and at thy right hand there are pleasures evermore. I love that one too. So thou wilt show me. You're going to show me. You are showing me, it says, the path of life. That somehow this path of life that we walk, this journey of life, has within it the fullness of joy, because it's in thy presence there is the fullness of joy. So as we walk upon this path of life, we are doing so in the presence, in the awareness. When we have the awareness that we're walking this journey, living this journey, expressing this thing called life, in the presence of the divine, we have also the fullness of joy, which means this is to be a joyous journey. A joyous journey. Now, I know that sometimes we get a little distracted and we forget that life is a joyous journey, right? Situations, people, circumstances, stuff jumps up, comes before us, we get enamored with it, entangled with it, right? And next thing you know, your joy, out the window. And it says, at thy right hand are the pleasures forevermore. So something about joy and pleasures. We're supposed to be enjoying this thing called life. It should be a joyous journey. And when I get up in the mornings and I'm not feeling joy, it's like, well, wait a minute, something is wrong. And there's nothing wrong with life, because life is just doing its thing. Apparently, there's something amiss with my ability to feel and unleash the joy that's within me. So I have to look at that. At thy right hand are the pleasures forevermore. Jesus said it's the Father's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. Right? So there must be something. Life is to feel good about. It is the good life. It is the God life. And when we are not experiencing that, then something is amiss. And we need not go and look outside and blame God or blame the situations or blame the circumstances. We have to stop and look within. So it sounds like to me, if I'm going to get in the presence, you're going to show me this path, and in the presence is the fullness of joy, and at the right hand of the pleasures, seems to me that we would all want to experience some of this joy quality. Don't you think I want to have more joy? So if we desire this, there's a few things we need to know about joy first. First off, we need to know it's not the same as happiness. Because sometimes we like to equate joy with happiness. Joy is not the same as happiness. Everybody's pursuing happiness. We're all in the pursuit of happiness, are we not? Yes, if I could just get this, if I get this new job, I'm going to be happy. If I get this new beau, this new girlfriend, I'm going to be happy. And if they do this, that, and the other, I'm going to really be happy. Right? If they do everything I want them to do, I'm going to be ecstatic. Right? And so we're pursuing happiness. Maybe it's this thing, or maybe it's that person, or this situation. If this is just right, then I'm going to be happy. And we're all pursuing it, but that's not joy. See, happiness might be equated with the acquisition of some outside thing, some outside force, some outside person. But joy is completely different. You cannot pursue joy. You don't have to try to get joy. All you must do is find the way to unleash it, to let it out. It already exists within us as a part of our divine nature. In thy presence is the fullness of joy. So when we are consciously aware that we are in the presence, connected to the presence, one with the presence, what do we have automatically? Joy. The fullness of joy. It is not related to anything out here. There's no outside force that can give you joy. It's an inner state of being. And you don't have to pursue it because it simply arises from within. It arises from within. And when it arises, we just let it out. We just begin to express it because this joy is connected to the divine source of life itself. And it is a quality of being that I like to define as a wellspring of pure goodness. Joy is like the deliciousness of life. It's delicious. You know? Right. Isn't that good? Don't you feel that? The deliciousness of life. See, when you're experiencing the deliciousness of life, you got some joy going on. There's a fullness to it. And so we want to figure out, how can I tap this inner wellspring of pure goodness? Pure goodness. Because pure goodness is nothing but pure godness. But how do I tap that? I like to think of joy as a combination of certain qualities that make life delicious. It's the combination of love, add some peace in there, some gladness, some exultation, some fullness. It's a feeling of what I call a feeling of overflowing good, right? It's the expression and the pressing out. When you express, you press out. It is the pressing out of God's presence and power into our lives and into our affairs. It's the pressing out of this divine energy of deliciousness into us, and we become the receivers of all this good, the receivers of God. And when God begins to press out, it's pressing out this goodness, this joy, this fullness, this completeness, this wholeness and holiness, all of it to us and through us. And it's powerful because it causes a gladness of the heart. It causes the heart to begin to expand. And who here doesn't want all those things? Who here does not want love, peace, joy, exultation, and a gladness of heart? Is there anybody? Right? We all want that. Joy resides in the heart. It resides in the heart, and here's the key. It's the dwelling place of God, right? We said from the heart of God, let love what? Stream forth into human minds. So this joy resides in the heart, and here's the key. In order to release this joy that resides in the heart, you have to keep the heart opened. Because joy flows through an opened heart. If your heart is closed, can joy flow through? Peace, if you want peace, peace flows through what? An opened heart. If you want some love, love flows through what? An opened heart. If you don't have an opened heart, there could be love coming in, or you're not going to receive it. You know? So this is the whole thing. The key is keeping your heart opened. And this is part of our growth and process of life. I'm reading this book, this fabulous book called, by Michael Singer, called The Untethered Soul. People have been trying to get me to read it for years, and I was like, oh, yeah, sure, no. You know, because my book, I have a whole library of books. I have a room that's filled with books, seriously. It's just all books, right, from all the years. And I was like, I don't need another book. But it kept coming to me, and then all of a sudden, somebody else suggested, well, because I was sharing the state of consciousness that I was in, and my suffering, and my existential suffering. And they said, you need to read The Untethered Soul. And I said, I've heard this book. It's been presented to me several times. Now is the time. So I began reading it. And it's so powerful because it's the right time for me. Any book that's the right time for you, for where you are in your consciousness, is the right book for you at that moment. So it's powerful for me because it's what my spirit and soul is needing. I'm open and I'm receptive to hearing the truth of the book, right? I'm open and receptive to taking what I'm gleaning from this book and using it and applying it, and it's helping me to do what I need to do and to walk this journey and to be a little cleaner and a little clearer. So it's a powerful book, and I'm working with it. It might not be powerful for you, but I'm just sharing with where I am on this journey. This book is helping me to not only be more present, but it's helping me to watch things, right? To watch my mind and to watch my thoughts and to watch for all the ways that I allow myself to be in a suffering state. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is what? An option. And it's an option, unfortunately, that we choose all too often. Woe's me, I'm going to suffer. Okay, somebody hurt your feelings, but I'm going to take it now, and I'm going to suffer with it, and I'm going to relive it, and I'm going to feel it again and again and again. Right? Because that's what resentment is. It's a resending of that same negative feeling. So I'm going to send it to myself again and maybe see how low I can feel and how low I can go. Till one day, maybe you can't even get out the bed. Right? So it's helping me to see, well, how much do I allow myself to be in this suffering state of consciousness? It's helping me to see all the ways that I block my own good. I block my own good. See? Or maybe it's helping me to see that where I have all this limited and negative inner chit-chat. Because that's what we have, inner chit-chat. You should have done this, you shouldn't have done that. You should have said this, you shouldn't have said that. Why did they do this, and why didn't they do this? And on and on, I like this, I don't like this. I like them, I don't like them. Oh, but all this inner chatter. And he calls it the voice that never shuts up. It's true. And how do we work with this voice, this incessant chatter? There's a place and there's a way where there's stillness. There's a place where the mind can be quiet, but not here. You've got to learn to step beyond the voice, to that witness that is seeing everything, to that true place and true essence of who you are that is able to not be entangled in what's happening out here and what's happening in what? In here, right? That place that gets wounded, that gets offended, that gets taken off course and causes us to fall down what I call the rabbit hole. And it's what I also call, it's clickbait of the mind. You know what clickbait is? You know what clickbait is, right? I learned that, Daniel. Clickbait, when you're surfing the web and there's an advertisement and that advertisement looks so good and they flash it on you, say, oh, I think I'll click on that. And you click on it and it takes you either an hour to get to whatever they're trying to sell you or whatever it is that the article said it was going to be about. It ain't about that. It's about something else. Clickbait. All they want you to do is click on it because they think if I can get you, I got you. Right? That's what the mind does sometimes. It'll present thoughts to you that are clickbait. That if you take that thought and you follow that thought, it's going to take you down a rabbit hole. Right? It's going to take you someplace that's not leading you anywhere good. And down the rabbit hole. Why'd they say that? And you know what? I do blah, 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 blah. Down we go. Right? It's clickbait. And so what and he calls this, it's what then tethers us. It tethers us to a lower vibration. It tethers us to thinking that what's happening out here is real. I got to defend against this. I got to do something with that. You're tethered. You're stuck. Your soul is blocked. Right? And so if you want to be untethered, you got to learn how to not take the clickbait. How not to go down that road. So I'm learning. You know what this thought? You want me to engage you. Not today. This feeling and this emotion that is rising up in me, as hurt, as anger, as whatever, you know what? That's clickbait. Can't go there today. So I'm beginning to watch. And what's more important, the chapter that I'm working on now, he says that we have to begin to watch not only this chatter of the mind and how to get behind it, because it doesn't stop, it's always going, but we can find the place of peace that lies underneath it, because in back of all things is God. Right? But this chapter that I'm working on now is not only watching the chatter, but to see all the places and all the times that I close my heart. That I close my heart. And whenever the heart closes, the energy that we need to experience vibrancy, the energy that we need to experience love and peace and joy and hope, it ceases to flow. Because what? The heart is closed. And so all of this is about learning how to keep the heart open, to not bite at that thought that's going to take you down the rabbit hole, not bite at that thought that's going to help you feel less than, unworthy. Something else is going, because the mind will have you think you are paranoid, right? You will be running around, everything is not working, nothing's working, the world ain't working, everything's, right? So the heart, what those things do is they close us down. And when the heart is closed, you can easily fall into depression, because the vibrancy of life and light is void from entering in. It's cut off. You're cut off from the light, right? And we close our hearts so almost unconsciously, so quickly. It's a condition. It's a conditioned habit, right? Somebody does something we don't like, heart, we shut it off. Somebody says something, don't like that vibe. I'm talking about an energetic flow. That when we come against something that the mind doesn't like, or the psyche doesn't like, or the ego doesn't like, it shuts down for a moment, and it shuts off that flow. It closes the heart. See? And so all of a sudden, somebody does something, I don't like it, heart closes. Somebody says something, my heart closes. All of a sudden, and when the heart closes, people around you can feel it. Right? When you come, and here's the insidious part, it's because we think that, or at least the ego thinks, that in order to protect us, to protect the self, if someone's trying to attack me, if someone's trying to hurt me, or if some words are coming that could be harmful, or if some, criticism and I need to what? Shut down and close my heart as a way to protect myself. That's the lie of the ego. Because the moment you close down, you're not protecting yourself. What you are doing is actually hurting yourself. Because when you close the heart down, all of a sudden there's nothing that comes in. You're closing also to the goodness. You're closing yourself off to the light. You're closing yourself off to the presence, which are those are the things that can heal you and harmonize and help. But when you close off the heart, a closed heart is like a closed fist, right? Nothing comes in and nothing goes out. But you think you're protected somewhere deep in there, but you're closed off, walled off from the good and from life. And all of a sudden, the world's a horrible place to be. You can't find any peace. You can't find any goodness. You can't find any light. There's very little light that I can see. Maybe you might get a glimmer in here of light. The only way to heal is to keep the heart open. Even in the midst of your pain or sorrow or somebody, keep the heart open, because when you have the heart open, the light of truth will heal you. The love of God will free you. You have to be open to that and let that do the work. So all of those stories, that you're holding in your heart about why this happened and why that didn't happen, let it go. All of those perceived slights and hurts and dings and slings that you believe people are throwing at you, some shade, let it go. And it doesn't mean that they're not throwing shade. Because they might be. But the moment you sit there and you engage it, clickbait. Now you're here over here, right? You're engaged. All that, the slights, the hurts, the whatever you perceive, you know what? I bless you. I'm going to keep my heart open. I'm going to keep my love flowing. All those fears, all those doubts that you perceive, let them go. This is part of this experience. He says, the moment your stuff begins to hit, let it go. Let it go. Because this is what will help you to experience this very powerful power of joy that's healing. You've got to keep the heart open. Now, if you want to grow, you have to let it go. Say, if you want to grow, you got to let it go. If you want to grow, you got to let it go. See? And if you begin to let it go, let it all go. Everything that comes in, let it go. Everything comes to pass. The good, the bad, the ugly. Because also seeking, desiring, continuous state of good is also clickbait. Because when something else happens, well, that wasn't supposed to happen. I go to church every day. I read these books. I'm not supposed to have this experience. Let that go too. It's about being in the flow. Things are going to come and things need to go. The good comes, the good goes. This stuff comes, this stuff goes. It's only when we get stuck with, what it comes in and we stop the flow and start engaging in it, as opposed to just experience it. Oh, yes. Okay. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. 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 Okay. Mm-hmm. That's what your masters do, right? You experience it, you see it, but you don't get sucked into it. You don't allow it to close the heart, because then you're in deep trouble. So this is it. When you're in this flow of letting things come and you let things go, then all of a sudden good stuff, the God stuff, begins to come to you more often because you're not closed off, right? There's room now in your heart because your heart is not holding hurt. Your heart is not holding resentment. Your heart is not holding feelings and thoughts of unworthiness or whatever it is. Your heart is just open to the flow and the goodness of God. And all of a sudden your soul is untethered. It's not tied to any limiting thing. It's free. Is open. So here's a process. Begin to notice and recognize when you have closed your heart off energetically. You got to take note when you're judging others, you're closing your heart. Take note when you're experiencing anger, there's a closing off of the heart. Take note when you have fear or doubt. All of these things will close the heart. So we want to begin to keep the heart open. And when you begin to notice that this thought, this feeling, this vibration is closing, let it go immediately. This is the process. This is the work. To let it go immediately with what? No analysis, because analysis will give you paralysis, right? It'll keep you stuck. No trying to fix fix it by pondering, well, I got to know why. Why did this happen? Or to figure it all out, just let it go. Drop it. Drop it from your mind as soon as you notice, you know what? This is not a thought that's leading me anywhere. Drop it. Drop it out of your mind, because when you drop it out of your mind, you keep it from entering into and closing your heart. And you may say, well, this is not really possible because, I really need to know. If I don't know why this has happened, I may be doomed to produce it again. I'm giving you a spiritual shortcut. Right? We could spend lots of money and take lots of time through analysis. You can go to therapy. You can do all of that. This is a quick way to cut through all of that stuff. Comes in, look at it, the hurt, let it go. You don't get entangled. It doesn't have an opportunity to take root and clog up your heart or close your heart, which then keeps you away from the goodness and power of God, from the fullness of the good that is there for you. So this is a really powerful thing. Don't try to, just drop it. Now, what I say is there's some things we can do to keep the heart open. One is to practice forgiveness as a state of being. You might have to constantly forgive. See, forgiveness, people think, forgiveness is about them. No, forgiveness is the process of letting go, letting it go. That's all it is. Whatever it is, I forgive it. I'm going to let it go. So it's not an occasional act, right? But it is what? It's a permanent state of being. So practice, just keep forgiving and letting it go, letting it go, letting it go, so that you can have this fullness of joy, the fullness of the presence of God that is with you. When I was working this morning on the talk for this morning, I had my phone, and a friend literally sent me a meme. Now, they didn't know what I was doing because it's like 5 in the morning. And they sent a meme. And I looked at this meme, and it was a person who was actually jumping for joy, a silhouette of somebody who was jumping for joy. You know how they would jump up and they were kicking their heels, right? And they were jumping for joy. And the caption said, "When we take responsibility for what we feel, it's called self-empowerment." And I thought, ooh. Now, I knew that was from God because this person had no idea what I'm writing and what I'm working on. It pops up, and I thought, well, I guess God means for this to be said to somebody. So I'm going, when we take responsibility for what we feel, it's called what? Self-empowerment. Now, that's deep because often we have a tendency to make other people responsible for what we feel, right? You made me feel this way. You did this and made me, but here's the truth. No one can make you feel anything. None of it. Your feelings are your own, and they are based on your perceptions. Your feelings come from the thoughts you are holding in your mind, how you are perceiving. If you are perceiving the world as a victim, you're going to experience victimhood, right? I'm telling this this is all for me. Your feelings, right, are your own belief systems about what you think is or is not happening out there. Other people are not responsible for what you feel. You are. And because of that, no one and nothing can steal your joy. We always have the thing that says, you know what, they tried to steal my joy. Nuh-uh. Nobody can steal your joy. You give it up. You give it away. Nobody can steal your power. You give it away, right? Nobody can take your power. Nobody can take your joy. We give it away. So when we recognize I'm responsible for my own feelings, that means that I also have the power to change them. Now, this is an interesting concept because we all know that we talk about changing one's mind, right? That we know that we have the power to change our mind, but we also have the power to change our feelings. Now, we don't go into that area often, but we have that power to change our feelings. When you change your mind, you will change your feelings. And you think, well, it's impossible. My feelings are my feelings. I can't change them. Yes, you can. When you begin to practice opening the heart, noticing what you are feeling, and if it is not of the highest vibration, you begin to practice surrendering those hurts, surrendering your fears, surrendering your doubts, surrendering your limited perspectives, all of those. When you begin to surrender and let those things go, your feelings begin to change. When you let go, you begin to let in. When you let go, you let in. You let in more light. You let in more understanding. You let in more acceptance. You let in, you let it be. Let it be. Let it be. There isn't this resistance. And before you know it, all of a sudden you have nothing but joy. That's when you can do, as Paul says, count it all joy. You know, it's like, oh, wow, that's your stuff. Right? What you feel and think about me is your business. That's your stuff. Now, it doesn't mean that we become insensitive to the feelings of others. Because when you have a compassionate heart and an open heart, you'll always be able to feel the vibration of the sacred other. And your choice that you will make will come from a higher place. And so you will not seek to harm, but to help and to heal your brother, your sister, even those who perceive that they are doing something to you or whatever it is that they're doing. So we remain open and receptive to the spirit of joy. Forgive, laugh a lot, keep it light, let go. Sometimes I get too much, I'm too cerebral, and I want to think about who cares? My mother and I have a saying that we get from Joy Behar. We say, so what, who cares? And that's sometimes, it's like, you know what, so what? It doesn't matter. Let me get behind to the presence that is always there. Let me let all this outer stuff and all this inner chat, let me let it all go and let me keep it light. Let me be light. Let me be love. Let me allow the presence of God to just be. And all of a sudden, the more you do that, the more your heart begins to open. The more your heart begins to open, the more you feel the presence of God. And the more you feel the presence of God, the more you will feel joy in your heart. And the more you experience joy, you'll begin to feel and experience the fullness of life. In thy presence is the fullness of joy. Things come, things go. Just keep checking. Is my heart open right now, or is my heart closed? And if it is closed, you know that it's going to lead you nowhere good, and it will get you a bunch of nothing. All of a sudden, if you discover that it's closed, make the choice and the decision to open your heart. Not to get into who's right, who's wrong, what they did, but blah, blah, blah. That's going to close you down. Just simply, is my heart open or is my heart closed? Let me open my heart up. Let me open to the presence of God. God will do the work. The Spirit will heal what needs to be healed. The Spirit will reveal what needs to be revealed. Your task is to keep yourself open. I am open and receptive to the living Spirit of truth. My joy is full. My joy is full. And so it is. Amen. Amen. Namaste. Namaste.